Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comfort Zone with Telly. Um, I don't know, I guess the last video was a little longer than what people may have expected or wanted to tune into, so I'm only gonna make this probably about a half an hour long. Um, um, I started off with about my childhood, and I ended with when my mom passed away, when I found out my mom passed away. And if you tuned in, you know. um, so I left off at when I found out she had passed away. When we were rushed up to the hospital by my grandfather, and the nurse telling us that she was gone. Um, like I said, that was one of the hardest days of my life. That was I I have relived that day over and over again in my head um, for as long as I can remember. Mind you, it was 4 days after my 13th birthday, and I just knew she was coming home to me. I just knew she was coming home. I just knew everything was going to be okay. Um, if you can recall, I asked my aunt, was my mom going to be okay? And my aunt reassured me that uh, she was going to be okay. And I, I held on to that. But the day I found out she was gone, I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know how I was going to live. My life changed drastically. My siblings and I had to go live with her mom's mom. And eventually I get to the point to where I let you guys know why I don't refer to her as my grandmother. I refer to her as my mom's mom. So whenever you guys hear me say her mom's mom, you know that I'm talking about my grandmother. I don't refer to her as my grandmother. I would prefer nobody ever refers to her as my grandmother in my presence anyway, because that's not what I refer to her as. So we had to go live with her. I didn't understand why, because my dad that was my stepdad. He was our everything. Like he truly cared about us, but he was such a laid back guy, and he was non-confrontational. He wasn't the type of person that wanted no kind of confrontation at all. And my mom's family took advantage of that. They totally took advantage of that. My mom's mom, she was a bully, like a bully. Like she really bullied this man out of his children, out of his furniture, out of everything that he had. I can remember her siblings, not her sibling. I can remember one of her siblings speaking about how he was going to get her furniture, like not even taking into consideration that she had kids and a husband, and you never came to check on her. You never came to to help her when she was sick. Like, none of that. you just felt like you were entitled to something of hers. Like I said, my mom was 29 years old when she passed away. She was fairly young, and her siblings was young. So her siblings, not no way, shape, or form do I hold any animosity or any kind of ill feelings towards them, because they were young. They were young. But at the same time, when I think back on them, I'm not going to say them, because it wasn't all her siblings. It was one sibling in particular that I can remember that was just so hell-bent on getting some things that belonged to her when she had a husband and children and needed them most. And her mom. Because even though that was her mom, like I said, when she was going through what she was going through, nobody was there. Nobody. I was the only one there. Her mother wasn't there, and her father wasn't there. And I can understand for the most part why some of her siblings wasn't there. I get it. So after finding out she had passed away, and all the things that we went through after that, them preparing for the funeral and the wake and all of that, they had her funeral at Faithway Baptist Church over on Nebraska. I remember it like it was yesterday. And her mom's mom ordered her 2 kids, her son's daughter. I don't know if both of his daughters were dressed like us, but we had on these shiny wannabe, they were like a dark green outfits, skirt and jacket kind of get up. I don't know, but I wasn't feeling it. My mom was dressed in a pink dress, and everything at the funeral was a blur to me, except for her laying there in her casket in a pink dress. After that, and we moved in with her mom's mom. I remember, I know I told you guys that I felt like my mom, I used to watch my cousins, my aunt's kids, when my mom was alive, and I would give my mom the money that they would give me to put up, for me. And she put it up. She didn't touch it. She put it up. And when she passed away, I had all this money, and I felt like I was being prepared to be and take care of myself, to be an older child and take care of myself and my brothers. Because I've always known Marguerite, and I've always known Marguerite, when I refer to Marguerite, Marguerite is my mom's mom. So sometimes I might say my mom's mom, and sometimes I might say Marguerite. But going to live with Marguerite, I knew it was going to be a lot. So I had this money, all of this money that my mom had saved for me. And I feel like she was preparing me. I still to this day feel like she taught me a lot in the short period of time that I had with her, because everything that I went through and that she taught me, I still to this day is still with me. So with the money that I had that she had put up for me, um, with the money that she had put up for me, I had went out. I bought me a couple of pairs of shoes. I bought me personal hygiene things. I bought me things for my hair. And I made sure I kept a good portion of it because I knew that I would need it. And Marguerite and the family, we lived on Maplewood, and they would have these card parties and parties or whatever. And all the kids had to go upstairs and play while the grown-ups stayed downstairs. One day, me and my two favorite cousins, one of their names start with a J and the other name start with an L. And we were playing, and when they left, all the adults left. And they left all everything on the table, all their liquor, everything. I don't know where they went. I think they probably went out, but they left everything on the table and everything. Me and my cousins go downstairs, and we laughing and playing and mocking them, turn the music on and mocking them. And my cousin, whose name start with a J, she picks up one of the glasses, and she takes a drink, and she kind of like choked on it, but it came back up and it came all out her nose and stuff. And we like still pick with her about that to this day. And we was just having fun. We didn't, that was like one of the best times of my life after my mom passing away, because them girls kept me sane. They kept me not thinking about my mom, even though I thought about my mom almost every day, because I always felt like I always envied them, because they had their mom. They had their mom, and I didn't understand why I just couldn't have mine. Why I had to go through what I went through and endure what I had to endure, and I couldn't have my mom, but they had theirs. So one day, as we always did, playing around, goofing around, we was in a front room, where Marguerite and her husband slept. It was they made it into their bedroom. And we were playing around with Marguerite's cigarettes. And she used to smoke Cools. I remember it. She used to smoke Cools. And I just had one cigarette. I picked it up. It wasn't lit. It wasn't, I didn't have a lighter to light it. But I picked it up. And we were laughing and joking. And I was acting like I was smoking it. I was acting like I was grown. But it wasn't lit. And Marguerite came in there and caught me doing that. And this is at the point where I realized that she really didn't like me. So when she caught me, she went on a rant. She said, "Oh, you want to be grown? You want to smoke cigarettes?" And, just went on a rant. I don't even know exactly what she said, but she made me chew up a whole pack of cigarettes. She made me literally sit there and chew up a whole pack of cigarettes. I didn't have to swallow it. I had to just chew them up. Chew them up and spit them out. Even though I wasn't the only one in the room. I was just the one caught acting like I was smoking a cigarette, but I wasn't no harm being done because I was a kid and it wasn't lit. But yeah, she made me chew up a whole pack of cigarettes. So from that day on, I knew she didn't really care for me. So I used to get out of my head. I had two younger cousins. One was born on my birthday, 10 years apart. We was born 10 years apart on my birthday. And then I had another one of my aunt's daughters. And I used to let them play in my hair because it used to relax me, and I used to go to sleep. And one day they were playing in my hair and I fell asleep like always. And I woke up to a different hairstyle. My hair was slicked down, some of it was cut off, and I wasn't mad at them. I was just like, what? But they was so excited to show me my hairstyle that of course I couldn't get mad at them. But they had used spit and everything else to style my hair. Right now, to this day, the one that was born on my birthday, she is an excellent hairstylist. She is wonderful at it. So my sister, she wind up coming back home, and but she never really stayed where we stayed. She was always over different relatives' houses and stuff. So we really never had that sisterly bond. Something that I always wanted, but we never had it. My brothers, they were always there. Them was my babies. We lived on Maplewood. And Marguerite's husband, I guess he felt it was too much for him. So he moved out and got his own apartment. And Marguerite used to go down to Lucy's bar on Maplewood and Central. And when she didn't have the money or we didn't have food or whatever, she would order us all chili dogs and burgers from Lucy's. And that's what we would eat for the day. And we moved from Maplewood to Cambridge. And we lived on Cambridge. And I remember living on Cambridge. I went to Old West End. And when my mom passed away, before she passed away, she used to order a lot from the Home Shopping Club. And she had ordered this ring off of the Home Shopping Club, and she gave it to me. And one of my friends at school, it was the end of the year, and I had let her wear the ring. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I let her wear the ring. And when we were dismissed, she left with the ring, and I never got the ring back. And I was so heartbroken by that. Like, when I would tell you, I was so sick because I was beating myself up. Like, why? What was you even thinking? Like, why did you even take the ring off? But it was what it was. I never seen that ring again, ever. And that hurts me so bad because that was the one and only thing that I had, that my mom had ever touched. And we used to go to these house parties with my Aunt Trina. And they were on Detroit. And Marguerite used to go without paying the bills. She had a habit of drinking and going to bingo. So she wouldn't pay the bills. So the lights would get turned off. She would go out and buy lamps that would need batteries to run them. And that was the way we had light in the house. And it was a lot of us in the house. It was a lot of us. It was my mom's 4 kids, my aunts at the time, my aunt's 4 kids at the time. Another one of my aunts, I want to say 4 or 5 kids. My other aunt's 5 kids. I'm pausing. That's because I'm adding them up. Another one of my aunt's 5 kids. So we were all in this house together. It was maybe about a 3-bedroom house. And we were all in this house together. And Marguerite used to bully my aunt. She would only come around the beginning of the month when it was time to get a check or the food stamps. She'd take us and buy us stuff every blue moon. One time I can remember, She took us all to the Nike outlet and bought us all a pair of shoes, Jordans, whatever. And the lights had got turned off. She went and bought these lamps that you had to put batteries in. And our cousin sometime would come spend the night with us, and or over our house. And we didn't have much at all. And like I said, she would only come like at the beginning of the month. So we would have to do with what we had until she came back. Well, my cousin one day, he went in the kitchen, and we had mice, and he went in the kitchen and opened a drawer, and when I tell you, it was like, to me it was like 1,000 mice in one drawer. Like a mouse had babies, but it had a whole bunch of them, and they were like all in this drawer. And I was so horrified and sick. Like, I did not know what to do. And we got tired of having to sit and wait for Marguerite to come. My hair look a hot mess. I need to get it redone. We got so tired of waiting on Marguerite to come and bring us food and stuff. So some of the younger kids got a little hustle about themselves. My brother, for instance, he would go down to Audie's that was right down the street from us. He would go down there and he would help people carry their groceries to the car for money, and they would pay, and that's how he would buy food. We didn't know what he was doing, but we just knew he always would come in. He would come in the house, and he would have snacks and stuff. We didn't know what he was doing. And we found out what he was doing, and he would do it on a daily basis. Two of my other cousins had a hustle, and they would go out and they would go to the Blade. They had the machines, they would have the paper, the Blade machines on the corners to where you go put 50 cents in them and get a paper. My cousins, they changed the locks on them. And once the machine got full, they would go empty the machines, empty the money. And that was their hustle. They would also do the same thing with the parking meters, with some parking meters. Ask me how they did it, I don't know. But that was their hustle. So they were always coming in with some kind of money. My brothers, they would always come in with some kind of money. So we had learned how to survive when Marguerite wasn't around, until Marguerite came and brought us things that brought us the things that we needed. We lived on Vance, and we lived on Vance. And this is one of the hardest subjects that I can talk about, because I know that this is one of the main reasons why I am like I am today. And I have phobias. I easily get sick to my stomach when seeing certain things. But we lived on Vance. And like I said, Marguerite didn't come often. It was only at the beginning of the month. Whenever she got food stamps, she would buy food at whenever she got the food stamps. She would buy food, but if you guys can add it up, all them kids that was in the house, that food didn't last long. And actually, we lived on Vance before we lived on Cambridge. And again, the lights and gas and water used to get turned off. And the water had gotten turned off. And it was summertime. And I always said that I would never speak about this because I didn't want people judging me. But you can't judge me for something that I had no control over. I was a kid. I didn't have any control over it. So say what you will. Feel how you will. It's part of my journey. But the water had gotten turned off, and we had to use the bathroom. We used the bathroom so much. I mean, we couldn't flush the toilet. And us not being able to flush the toilet, of course, it piled up. And we started getting buckets of water, running water hoses to flush the toilet. And it eventually, it got piled up so much. It wasn't, we didn't even have an adult there with us. That's how bad it was. Our aunt was there, but she was young and she was always gone. So it was no adult attending to us in this house. So we using the bathroom, and it just got so full in summertime. And this is why I don't take the garbage out. And it makes me sick to even use the bathroom because maggots was all over that toilet. It got to the point to where we couldn't use the toilet in the house. We had to actually use buckets and in the house and take the buckets outside behind the house and dump them. We had to take buckets outside the house and dump them, and in the grass. And that is where my phobia come in at, is because this is why I can't walk in grass to this day. I can't walk in grass. I can't see anybody walk in grass. My son, I think, is traumatized because of that, because I can't let him, I've never let him walk in grass. And we had to dump it in the yard, in the grass. And we waiting on Marguerite to come home, and to come around. It was so long in between to where all we had was canned goods, and we would have to take a knife and hit the knife on top of the can and open the can with the knife and get the canned goods, the vegetables or whatever out of the can like that, and warm it up in the microwave and eat it like that. But we did have a savior, and that was my uncle, one of my uncles. He's not blood. He's not our blood, but that's he's our uncle. He's my uncle anyway. If don't nobody else recognize him, I recognize him for everything that he's ever done for us. He would come here for birthdays, rent limos, for Christmas. If whatever we wanted, he was making sure we had it. Them triple fat goose coats came out. We wanted Raiders. We got Raiders coats. He would come and one of us would go with him, and he always called it a smiley meal. I'm gonna go get everybody a smiley meal. And he would pick one of the older kids to go with him to go get McDonald's for the whole house. And still to this day, that's my uncle. If don't nobody else in the family call him, I call him to make sure he okay. I call him. I don't wait on him to call me. I make sure I call him. So we lived on Mason, across the street from Sky High School. And that's not where I met my son's dad, but me and my son's dad was together when I lived over there. And me and that favorite cousin of mine, we used to do everything together. And we used to sneak out the house, out the window. It wasn't out the window. We used to sneak out the back door. We had an upstairs. The house used to be a duplex. So the downstairs, you can go out the front door or the back door. But the upstairs had stairs that you can go down. And Marguerite wasn't ever there, no way. So when Marguerite wasn't there, we would just do our own thing. My son's dad would come over quite often with his cousins or friends or whatever. And Marguerite, when my mom was alive, she used to make sure me and my sister's hair stayed done. We didn't want for nothing. She made sure our hair stayed done. So when Marguerite used to send us to get our hair done, every time she sent us to get our hair done, I never understood why. And I can show you guys a picture of how I used to always be I used to always be little. I was not a heavy-set child at all. I was always slim, pretty slim. And not too much bigger than my cousin. And she would go shopping, and for some reason she could always find clothes for my cousin, but she could never find nothing for me. And I used to always be mind boggled about that. And when she would send me to get my hair done, my cousin and I, she would always tell them to cut my hair. I never understood why. I never questioned it. I thought that it was because, they cut your hair when your ends need clipped or whatever, but she would always cut my hair. And when she go shopping for us, she would always come back and say, I couldn't find nothing in your size. I couldn't find nothing in your size. She always found something for my cousin, but she could never find nothing in my size. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, I really was not liking living with her, and I always tried to reach out to my dad. Um, that's all I wanted was my dad. I didn't have my mom. All I wanted was my dad. So I would go to it was a corner store over on it was a corner store over on Collingwood and Delaware. And I would go over there to the payphone. I would save all my money up. And I'd go over there because I couldn't call. I had to call him collect. We didn't have a phone at home. So I would have to, not collect, I would have to save up for a phone card and call him. And I would call him. I always made the effort to call him. And I would call him. Sometimes I get through. Sometimes he, sound like as if he really didn't want to be bothered. So I didn't give up. I just didn't call him as much because I felt, that he didn't want to be bothered with me. So me and Marguerite used to bump heads a lot. I was going to Scott across the street, and that was my getaway. That was my safe haven. I could get away. I didn't have to be grown. I didn't have to take care of no kids. That was my getaway. But it still wasn't my getaway. I had decided to put myself in OWE, if y'all know what it is. I put myself in OWE because that gave me the option to be able to make money while going to school. And me making money while going to school was helping me to care for the other kids that was up under me. Because like I said, my aunt was never there. Marguerite was never there. And I was the oldest in the house. So me being the oldest in the house, I had to figure out a way to make sure these kids ate and on a daily basis. And even though that wasn't my job, that was my job. Even though I could have just worried about me and my brothers, I couldn't just worry about me and my brothers because the other kids was my family too. So I put myself in OWE, and I started working at Fulton School. And whatever they didn't sell or whatever the kids didn't eat, they would let me pack it up and bring it home. And I would pack up them Salisbury steak dinners, them taco dinners, nacho dinners, nacho meals, whatever they had, and I would bring it home to the kids up under me, and make sure that they ate, because it was plenty of times where I went to bed hungry. I would never let them go to bed hungry. I went to bed hungry. Just knowing that they were okay was okay with me. So Marguerite decided to come back home, or to come home. I don't know what happened within her relationship with her husband, but she decided to come home. And me and her didn't get along. We bumped heads all the time. And she decided to send me away to Lima to go live with my aunt, one of my uncle's wife. And because she didn't like my son's dad. And she didn't like me being with my son's dad. And I was only 16 at the time. So She didn't care for him. And we were always fighting. Me and her, anyway. So she sent me to go live with my aunt in Lima. And I got there, and I was okay for the first week. But then I got to throwing up all over the place and being sick and, not being able to hold no food down and not want to do anything. And my aunt said, look, I got to take you back home because something is wrong and I don't know what's wrong. We got to find out what's going on with you. So she wind up taking me home. And Marguerite was furious. And she like, we're making you a doctor's appointment. And, at this point, I'm 16. I didn't think nothing about nothing. So she makes me a doctor's appointment. I go to the doctor. The doctor come in the office and say, well, congratulations. You pregnant. I said, pregnant? He like, yeah. Marguerite gave me this look like, if looks could kill, I'd have been laid out flat in that doctor's office. We get to the car, she cussing me out. She going off. He don't care about you. He don't love you. He just wants you for one thing. Da 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 da. You pregnant. He ain't gonna care nothing about that baby. All this, whatever. So I'm like, ain't nothing I can do now. It is what it is. So, I get home. First thing I do is call him and tell him. And he said, by who? I said, I'm pregnant. He said, by who? I'm like, don't play with me. So, as time went on, he got to buying stuff. When I tell y'all, my son needed nothing. He didn't need nothing when he was born. His dad and his dad's mom bought everything he needed. He had it. I contributed a little bit, but I didn't have much. But they went all the way out for that baby. So one day I'm pretty sure it was my sister was dating this guy, and he was staying the night at the house quite often. And my aunt was living in a shelter, and she had invited us to Thanksgiving dinner at the shelter. And we went out, had dinner or whatever, and everybody kind of stayed out late that night. And we were going away from the house. And we get back to the house, and my sister said somebody had stole her boyfriend's game console. It was a Sega Genesis, something like that. And so me and her is arguing. The next day we arguing because he was saying he was going to break up with her. And all because of this game system came up missing. And I didn't understand why she was arguing with me because I didn't have nothing to do with it. But she was accusing my son's dad and his family of doing it. And I tried to diffuse the situation by walking down the street to this lady house who I was babysitting for. And she followed me down there and we started fighting. Of course, I'm 6 months pregnant, so it really wasn't no me defending myself. I was trying to protect my unborn child, and so I went into early labor, and I had him when I was 6 months pregnant. He had to stay in the hospital for 3 months. He weighed 2 pounds 13 ounces, and I've always, no matter what it was, my son, I never looked at my son any different. I put myself through parenting classes for 2 years because I didn't have that. I didn't have no one to teach me how to be a mom, how to be a parent. And everything, every decision that I made from that day on was based on how it was going to affect him. I never ever put myself first after having him. It's always been, how is it going to affect him? He's 31 years old now, and I still make decisions based on how it's going to affect him. So he comes home, and my Marguerite was getting a welfare check for us, for me, my son, and my brother. And we were all on the same case. And so she had my aunt, the one that I had went to Lima to live with. She was back in town, and she had her to come take her to cash the checks. Well, I'm like, I want to go. I'll go. And I asked my aunt, could I ride with her? She said, yeah. Marguerite said, if she going, I ain't going. I ain't going if she going. So I said, my aunt was like, well, she don't want you to go. So I'm like, oh, okay. So she came back from cashing the checks, and she gave me $25. So I looked at her like, $25? What $25 supposed to do? Because I know I ain't going to see you for a whole nother month. What am I going to do as far as feed my baby, making sure he got the things that he need, his diapers, his wipes, his baby wash, all the things that he need? How I'm supposed to do that with $25? So I let it go by for another month. Same thing. I said, okay, no, this not going to work. So I went, the lady that I used to babysit for, I went down to her house. I used her phone, and I called the caseworker. I called Job and Family Services and spoke with the caseworker. And I told him, I said, look, she only giving me $25 a month. This is not enough for me to take care of my son for the month. She's never there. It's nothing that, I can't buy anything with that. And so he said, that's all she giving you? I said, yeah. And he said, well, I'm going to tell you what. He said, next month, I'm not making no promises. He said, it won't be next month, but the month after. I'm going to change the case into your name. The month after, whenever you get the check, come down here, take your picture, and that's how you're going to cash your check. I said, okay. So that next month, the check came in my name. She came over like clockwork to the beginning of the month to collect all the checks, because my aunt that was there, that her kids was there, the only aunt, she had left. She had left her kids as well. And because Marguerite was bullying her out of her money and her food stamps. So she left her kids as well. So it was nothing but a house full of kids, you know. Nobody was there. And that's why Marguerite came back, I'm guessing. Um so uh um when she came and she got all the checks out the mailbox and she saw my name on one of the checks and she go, "What is this?" I said, "I don't know." So she handed it to me. I said, "Oh." So I opened it up, saw that it was a check. So I went down there, I took my picture, I went to the store, I cashed the check at the store because I didn't have a bank account. And the check was for $340. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he took the store took, I want to say like $6 for cashing the check. So I had 300 and $334. So I took 100. I get 110. I gave it to her. I kept 110 for me and 110 for my son, and the remaining portion. And she was furious. She like, "What is this?" I'm like, "That's your portion of the check." Mm-mm. She was like, "Oh, I know I'm supposed to get more than this and this, that, and the other." She was going off. So I want to say it wasn't even a month. It wasn't even a month. One day I had went to stay the night over my aunt's house with my favorite cousin. And it was the weekend. And we woke up to the news. They was watching the news and was saying how a house had burnt up and all this. To this day, I don't even know where the younger kids was at because I was gone. I don't know where the younger kids was at. I don't know. I just know that the house had caught on fire. So I knew that this was something that she had planned because wasn't nobody at that house. And everybody was always, them kids were always at that house. They had nowhere else to go. Where else was they going to go? So the kids wasn't there, but the house had caught on fire. So everything that I owned was in the house. Everything that I had for my son, that my son's dad and his family had provided for him, was gone. We didn't have it no more. And I didn't have nowhere to go. So I was at my aunt's house. And whenever I talked to Marguerite, I said, we was talking about something. And I said, well, when we get our new house, she said, I said, yeah. She said, oh no, you can't move with me. I said, huh? Mind y'all, I was only 17. Said, you can't move with me. Said, so I'm sitting there puzzled. I don't have nothing. Everything I had in that house, I lost. My son, everything he had, I lost. She got insurance money for that house. So she bought my son 4 outfits from Kmart. That's all he had. And understand that's where the hustle in me came out. That day she told me I couldn't move with her. That's when the hustle in me came out. Because like I said, every decision that I made from the time I had my son every decision that I made was based on how it was going to affect him. And when she told me I couldn't move with her, and I knew me and my son had nowhere to go, I had to hustle. And hustle is the only thing that I knew how to do. from that point on. But that's where I'm going to leave it. And I said I was only going to give y'all 30 minutes, but it's been a whole hour. So I'll pick back up where I left off next time. And I hope you guys enjoy, my lovelies. Until next time, I love you, my lovelies.